Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum, built for business by American Express.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Today, we're reading chapters 40 through 42 of Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn.
But first, previously on Wizard Team, Bree and the gang arrive at Miss Hazel's house, which is a station on the way to Volition, which is where they're going to take Bree so that she can practice her root magic without alerting all of the demons in their vicinity. After eating a big meal and getting some rest, Bree and Alice catch Mariah up on all the tea while Sel broods in the forest. Valak gives Bree some surprising perspective about Sel, and Bree and Sel hash things out, though she's still feeling hurt and upset and runs to her dreams to see Nick. Arthur shows her the first time the round table created the spell of eternity, and then Bree and Nick make out after that, but gasp, Nick is in danger, and he actually tells Bree where he is, so Bree and Sel rush to go save him from the Merlins, but Isaac sort of seems to have things handled until Erebus turns up. Lord Davis ends up sacrificing himself for Nick, and then Nick beheads Max, so that was great. I can't believe I missed that last week. 2 down.
2 down, couple hundred to go. I don't know how many. Well, at least 8.
At least
rejects.
6.
Right.
We're not
There's
going to rest until
6
Tor is
regions.
also on the table.
Also Tor. Okay, that's
Tor.
7.
The Order of the Rose, they can go to.
The whole order.
A whole
So
order.
yeah, hundreds.
The Order
Right.
of the Rose is we're just getting
That's
straight
so
into
funny.
murder
Throwback.
right there because ain't no way they on the battlefield. We just murking them now.
I mean,
I'm not opposed.
they might be in a place they don't need to be at. And
Red
that's on
wedding
them.
style. We're just gonna start like
It's just over.
at the dinner table. That's fine. Yeah. So we start chapter 40, and Erebus is telling Nick to drop his swords as he stands in front of his father, Max's body, and I'm assuming Max's head is just like kind of rolled away. Isaac is fueled by rage and the agony, all caps, or capitalized, the agony TM, and then starts to throw hands with Erebus. Like, they're not even sword fighting. Like, I had to read that a couple times. No. I mean, there's ether flowing around, but they are fisticuffs. Isaac said, I'm just gonna punch it out.
You killed my man.
You killed my scion, now prepare to die. Nick sees Sel and Bree in all of this chaos and like nods at them, and they think that he's coming to join them, but then he like takes off into the woods, and
It's an interesting, like, because it's kind of like the moment kind of lingers on it, which is funny. It's funny, like,
Right.
visually, because like Isaac and Erebus are like literally like
I had like the
Fighting to
cartoon,
kill.
the cartoon like where there's a fight, but it's really just like a little tumbleweed of like dust and smoke and like, you know what I mean? Like you can't really see the
yeah,
bodies.
exactly.
That's what I was like imagining with Isaac and
Yeah.
Erebus's fight. But then
So they're like doing that in the background, and then there's like this like kind of, it's such a like it's a triangle moment, like the kind of like Sel and Nick having like being able to have that conversation without speaking, and like realizing like, oh, Nick is leaving, but also not really understanding what Nick's like thought process is in that moment.
Yeah, but so then here's the thing. It's like Sel I'm just gonna read this part. I just like look it up. After Sel nods at Nick. After a moment, Nick nods back. He sees us. We can't go to him without exposing ourselves right now. No one else knows. He knows that we're here, but we're his escape, his rescue. And so they turn in unison, both checking for a tactical opening. Sel and Nick turn in unison. The Merlins are fighting. Isaac is too lost to hold back, and Erebus is calling on every skill he has to fight off Isaac. So the opening is now. Sel and Nick turn, eyes meet each other, and then some unspoken, silent understanding passes from charge to King's Mage, and Sel sucks in his breath. No. Nick takes one step back and then another, and I'm saying it too. No. He shakes his head, and the meaning is clear. He's leaving without us. He's leaving us. 2 more steps, and then he's gone through the woods on the other side of the cabin. And then it says if there's a so he's like ran away, and then there's a little space, and then there's a loud crack at the end of the driveway. And that loud crack for a minute, I was like, so is he coming back to like take them all out in like a different... The WNBA playoffs are on right now. If I look up, the basketball's on Tuesday. It was the last game of the Sparks season, and our rookie Rick squared up to Brittany Griner. And if you know anything about Brittany Griner, she's a gorgeous woman, but she's also 6'7", with a wingspan, and she's got some trauma, which probably should be looked at. But like, even before she was spent a year in a Russian prison, she would square up. Like you just didn't. There's like a very funny / true life video of her getting into it with someone else like a couple years ago, and the other player literally takes off running across the court. Which, like, yes, because value life. So Rakia and BG are getting into it, and Rakia like does this like step back, which wasn't a I'm running away. It was a like, let me get spacing so I can like figure out which angle to come at you. And me and the crowd being like, know your life. What are you doing? Shout out to BG's like security, because he like they stepped in real quick, and like it was like they didn't have a chance to do anything, but like the way in which Rakia stepped back, you could tell that she was like, all right, let me see the whole view of the battlefield. I was reading this as like Nick was like they thought, okay, he's leaving us, but then like Nick was actually like
gonna come back or something.
Yeah, and just like take them all, like try to take as many mages out at once as possible. And that's not what happened, and I still can't understand.
I, on the other hand, peak laughter, peak hilarity, peak... he literally left him in there in his desk. This is amazing. My gosh. Meanwhile, Bree's crying, and I'm like, girl, for what? Like, this is so... Why I'm laughing? Let me tell you why we're laughing. Because Bree
said, if Nick has no haters...
Literally.
I have left this plane of
I'm laughing because Bree, because then sorry to this Bree, but also not, because it's hilarious. Not to laugh at Bree's pain, but Bree's thought process is so funny to me, because it's so much like her and Sel are there for damsel Nick to be his right knights. And when she, like, in her brain, she says, I've imagined it so many times, what it would feel to see him again. And that, like, we're here to save him. And I'm like, girl, he don't want to be saved. Don't save him.
I think he's been saying that from jump. Like, he did tell them to come. He did tell them where he was. And I'm sure in the moment, initially, he was, like, thinking...
He needed all the backup he could get away.
Yeah.
This is now their shot. You only get one shot.
I feel like it's also interesting, like, going off what you're saying, Porshèa. Like, Bree and Nick have not actually spoken, really.
Mm-hmm. Only
like,
in dreams.
He has a better idea of what's going on with her. but she hasn't really no idea, and there hasn't really been time for him either to like explain kind of like what's going on in his head at all. But it's one of those things where in her, again, she's like kind of built up in her head like Nick is someone who needs to be saved, and that's what I'm gonna do, like I'm gonna save him, but
But
not really thinking about like what he wants to do or like how he's feeling, because I think in this moment it's definitely um giving, like I feel like maybe in a bit when they talk or whatever, he maybe talks about like wanting to in the lines or something like that. I
yeah.
feel like that's when that conversation happens. So it feels like to me he got to this point, he's like he just lost his father, he just murdered this dude in cold blood, and that's not something that's like not who he really wants to be,
Mm-hmm.
and not really how he wants to live. And we already know he hates Arthur. So I think at that point he's like, "Oh no, this is fucked. I can't just get back into the same kind of pattern."
All I know,
But also I don't know how like coherent those thoughts are in that moment other than like I just got to get out of here.
all I know is that Nicholas, you said they didn't have a moment to talk. However, them hormones, if he chose to just
Yeah,
actually
that's what I
stop
meant. A
them
moment in
hormones,
like I mean a moment passed through where they could think through the past all of that.
I think that was
Cuz they definitely
by
could have like
I think that was by design. I think he decided to
yeah.
go with his hormones in that moment and go and make out and like not talk about what was bothering him than to actually sit and talk to Bree about what was bothering him about what's going on. And
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
I'm also a Nicator and I own it.
Yes. Noted.
Um so
Noted Nick hater.
the chevron comes across whenever Nick comes up. Porshèa, noted Nick hater, like
Noted Nick
I
hater.
um
Oh my gosh.
so I just like him like having a beef with Arthur just kind of like is a for me because I'm like you don't even know Arthur like that. You know the order though, and you know what he designed, so I understand that, and I understand like I think Robyn was talking about like the fact that like his father has like invoked Arthur to do his crimes against humanity, and instead of like focusing on his father's wrongs, he's focusing on Arthur. But like it is what
I
it
think it
is.
I think
I
it's also
think
like I think it's partially the order. I don't know how much of it he puts on his father. I'm sure that's part of it, but I think he probably blames Arthur for his father, like how his
yeah,
father is. But like, yeah, I think he
I think
definitely is that
Damsel
way.
Nick is like resentful of the fact that he could possibly actually be a damsel and is like not even like but he's not playing into that narrative right now. And so it leaves one thinking, like, what is he actually going to do on his own? Like if this whole time he's been with Isaac and his father just trying to escape, he wasn't going to try to escape to go hang out with Bree and Sel because clearly he gets the opportunity to do it and he's not trying to do it, and he's clearly not going to go to like the chapter because he knows that they're out for him. So where's he going to go? What's his plan?
I am not clear or not sure if he has one, like has a full plan in this moment, just because of like the uh heightened emotion of it all.
I feel like he has to have something because
But
you don't
I
sit
think
there
that
with
he
your
has no, I
father
think
and
that's
Isaac
what I
that
mean. Like,
long.
I think he has an idea of what he wants to do, but not necessarily like, because it's not like he was planning for this to happen this way. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could have even seen him being like, all, or initially, before, his dad got impaled or whatever, um, being like, I'll go with Bree and Sel, and then I'll figure out like my plan from there, even like try to get them in on the plan or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we can obviously talk more about it too when we get his like
Yeah, when we get
explanation later.
what's the
I
book
do
title for the next one? Oathbound.
Earthbound.
Oathbound, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
think we'll
sure we're gonna
definitely
get
see even
nicknames
more of
in
it
there.
then too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is a moment to revisit.
I do
like
also
I pointed
wanna
out last episode, a moment to revisit with Nick, and the Arthur scene, or whenever we had the Arthur scene with Nick, that's a scene to revisit, and I feel like this is a scene to revisit once we get Oathbound as well.
I do also just wanna point out it always makes me laugh, the moment where Bree's like, "He left us." I'm like, "Y'all are so, like"
Dramatic.
just drama and, like, just
He left
already,
us.
codependent, like, please
Mhm.
relax. Like, all 3 of y'all are ridiculous. It's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So I just I'm team Porshèa being team anyone but Nick, or never Nick. I'm not never Nick, but I am team
No,
Porshèa
I love
being
Nick,
never
but
Nick,
I also
because
understand it because I resent how much I like Nick, so
I just
I get
love
it.
how much Porshèa doesn't like Nick. I'm kind of Nick agnostic, like take it or leave it. You know, he's good because the triangles, but Portia's disdain for him is wonderful. So despite what I thought was going to happen, that that Nick was just like, you know, taking a different angle to wreck shop. Now he's gone, and Erebus has killed Isaac. So then Sel's looking around like, well, the person we came to save has left. It's time to go. So he Spider Monkey's Bree to safety. This is, I know that the car's all jacked or whatever, but like they could have, I don't know why he didn't Spider Monkey her back to the car. Feels like a lot of things would have been whatever. It's fine. It happens this way because of plot. So Bree and Sel are talking about Nick taking off, and Sel is like, well, he made his choice. And then Bree is kind of grappling with the fact that Nick killed Zhao out of like revenge and bloodlust and not self-defense. But it was both. It's not like, I think the way that Nick killed Zhao, like it didn't,
Right,
he
like
didn't have
that
to
was
go.
he didn't
He
have to
just
do
pulled
all
an
that, but
Isaac.
he was
Yeah,
coming for him.
right. Like he didn't have to pull an Isaac and cut the man's head off. I'm sure there was an easier way, like, or a more efficient, less brutal way.
Or
But
he could have even injured him or whatever, but
That takes thought.
even if
That
you're,
takes
It
actually
does.
caring for
yeah,
that person's life. Did he care for Zhao's life in that moment? No.
in that moment, no.
And
But
I don't think
what I'm
I'm like,
saying
did he
is,
even
it's
know
like,
him?
yeah, he did. Yes, it was revenge and bloodlust or whatever, because the man did just kill his father. And like, and this is the thing that we were talking about in the last episode, where I was like, what is up with the mage guard? Because the way Isaac was like killing the mage guard, and it's like in this, like, I forget how you mentioned it, Porshèa, but Porshèa was saying basically it's like about the spectacle and use of the ether, and how they, you know, they're kind of showing off.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think that if you are doing like an internal, this is basically like a civil war at this point, internal fighting with someone that you are with a group that you held allegiance to at a relatively recent point, it would, not that you're not going to fight and not that you're not going to have to kill somebody, especially in self-defense, but that it would just be,
He
you're
wouldn't
going
be
to make
like
it as,
enjoying it.
yeah, and you're just going to make it as quick and like efficient as possible. Like, I'm not taking joy in this. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to show off my skill by doing it, right? And so I was in awe of, like, I was like, you know, what the hell is Isaac? What's wrong with Isaac? But then you see,
He
like,
is on some, yeah.
like Zhao didn't have to. I mean, the spear was meant for Nick, first off, but like, don't they have like an bow and arrow? Like, you didn't have to put a hole through the man's chest like that.
Zhao has
But he did.
been waiting to like graphically murder a scion. Like
But he also
he's
did
been
have to
plotting on it for
though.
a long time. He didn't care which one it was, honestly.
But he also
So
did have to. That was the order. The order was for Nick to die. The order, and it doesn't matter.
no,
Like
that was his
Dud is
order,
No.
but
also.
he was gleeful about it. He's been
But
waiting.
I'm saying too,
He wanted to do it to Bree.
there's
I'm
like a difference
saying-
between shooting an ether forged like bullet or an ether forged
You're
like
thinking
whatever.
small time. These are Greatest Showmen. Like
That's
why would
that's
you?
the point, Portia.
But
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying
That's
is
the
the
point.
problem.
But
But
why
I'm
would
saying
he?
that's the
But that's
problem.
the thing. Like, here's my thing. He knows as soon as he takes out Nick, he's gonna have a problem with whoever's on the field to fight. He thinks the person on the field to fight is Isaac. He does not realize that Dud is willing, and to me, that's the even bigger that's the even bigger like judgment call on Dud's like character, where neither Erebus nor Zhao, who had probably spent more time in proximity and know how Dud moves, thought that Dud was capable of sacrificing himself for his son. And so there was no forethought to like, oh, maybe we should do something different in order to make sure we actually get Nick. They're like, nah, I'm gonna just throw the spear. Go on, throw the spear.
I think he's also the only one that doesn't have any power though, too. So it could also be that they just kind of wrote him off because he doesn't have magic. But it also kind of feels like Max underestimated Nick too.
Yeah.
Sure. But because he thinks, but Erebus, okay, we know why Erebus is OP. We know why he thinks that he's untouchable. Zhao and the rest of the Mage Guard, including again Isaac and Sel, all of them, they all freaking trained in the same kind of training. They all think they're like you have to be like very cunning and clever in order to get one over on them. And that's the effectiveness of being like a warrior against somebody who is just looking out for the flashy things, right? So like that's like them underestimating Nick like works in Nick's favor. But at the same time, I think it's really interesting to me that this is their lives. All of the Merlins have been taught to move this way. And for me, it feels kind of like almost like a school shooter kind of situation where like when you know all the procedures and you know how they're going to react around you. And it's like the fact that they didn't actually, that's what I'm saying. I think that they calculated in a way, like, yes, they might have just written like Dud and Nick off, but at the same time, because they're like, oh, I'm so OP, I got this, nothing's going to happen to me. But I think it's partial arrogance and also partial, like, they think they can, like, the arrogance that stems from like they can read people better than they actually can read people. And so they like look at Dud as someone who's like, he's not actually gonna do anything and even if he got, like, it doesn't matter, he's collateral anyway at this point.
I also think that they think because Nick spent so much time away from the order that he lost his like edge or whatever, and there's nothing to say that Nick stopped training and Nick stopped like being, you know what I mean, like let all of his skills like atrophy. He just don't fuck with y'all. But I personally, the biggest thing to me is that like there's something about, and we talk about this all the time, about like white people TM not having community. And I think that this is like one of those like things that just like me as a reader, like reading it was like just very much like, damn, like I just feel like I would grit my teeth a little bit more.
Yeah, like hate that it had to come to this, old friend. Like
right, like the Wesley Snipes gif of him like raising the gun while crying
with the tear.
Like like it feels very much like, well, you're not with me, you're against me, but also like fuck it. Like, I don't know. So,
but it also feels like they're trained competitively. Like if you look,
they
how
are.
Larkin and Sel talk to each other, how the other Merlins talk to each other. They're all like competing with each other at all times. So like that's the lack of community thing. It's also kind of like the community that is there is step in my way, find out. Like,
yeah,
it is what it is. Like, there's no like sportsmanship to this. It's all, if you get in my way, prepare to die. Like, I don't have
And then I think
any
if you get in my way,
qualms
and
about
also
it.
if you betray the order, like
But that's just getting in the
specifically, it's
way.
like
That's like, that's like
no, that is getting in the way. But I
if I
mean
have an
that
order
like if
against
you
you.
yeah, but I mean like if you get in the way, but we're still like on the same side, it's like we might fight. It's not necessarily prepare to die, right? It's like we might not like you. We might not like you know what I mean. I might not respect you. We might beef, but and if I did get the order to like kill you or whatever, I would take it gleefully, but
That actually
not
makes me wonder
necessarily until
too.
then. And I think that like I mean, we saw it with like Jonas and the way that like Will and Sel kind of spoke about him after realizing that he betrayed them. Like they resent those people. Like it's like another, even if it's like we didn't like you before, there's also like this other level of like anger, you know what I mean? Like how dare you betray this thing that we've been told to kind of revere above everything else.
I just don't like, I see the oathing of the Merlins, but like I feel like in their interactions, I feel like that's the thing. It's like it sounds like all their training has been to push the limits, and like how far can you get with thinking about an oath? How much is actually, so I get that, like, oh, there's a level of like stick to your word is bond crap, but I don't know that that's actually necessarily true for the Merlins, because it seems like they push the borders and boundaries on oaths as far as they can whenever they can. So I don't know how much they
Mm.
actually care about that. And I also wonder too at them being gleeful and being able to take someone out that trained in the same way they did. Like, it kind of gives me like Rudyard Kipling, man's greatest game kind of thing. Like, like the biggest, best predator to ever, the biggest challenging predator to ever take out is another human. Um, and how much that is kind of like to a certain group of people, primarily white people who have power and privilege and everything that's already working for them. Like, what is the biggest challenge to me? Power and being able to exert it over people. And if the person that you train, like you learned, is trained exactly what you can, and like y'all both are very powerful folks, do they sit and look at each other whenever they're like sparring or whatever throughout their training, and like even afterwards, are they looking at each other like, it would be great one day if I can go after, if I could actually take that person out, like let them step on the wrong side and I'm ready to take them. That's why they're gleeful, because it's like they have been looking for a challenge and they've been unchallenged in their brains.
I don't know. just throw the whole thing away.
Yeah.
Let's move on because anyway, Bree wonders if Nick will come back. And it's just poor child. But Erebus has found their car, so Sel's like, we got to keep moving. Like, we gotta. He's on the hunt now, and he is. They don't know this, but he is the hunter. And so Sel spider monkeys Bree again. They reach like a campground, and Sel goes to the trees because that's what he does, and has Brianna like hide on a platform. I was thinking about it as like the platform that you would take off if you're doing zip lining, and I think that's how it kind of, she doesn't use the word zip lining, but I think that's kind of how it like is explained. Like if you're doing like camp activities, there's like this, it's just basically like a deck built out of a tree. But it also feels like not a good place to hide because it's not meant for hiding, it's meant for camp stuff. Um so Sel has Bree like laying down on the platform, um and they can like sense Erebus like is coming close, and then Bree says like the forest just gets silent, which is like, even the birds don't want to mess with this man. Like everybody, the birds and the insects, I'm out. Good luck. And Erebus is like, I know you're here, and like starts, calling for her and talking about how she is safer with them than with Sel, which she's not safe with Sel, but I think Bree at one point is like, y'all locked me up. What are you talking about?
But also,
no, just
What?
2 points. 1 point, like, who does he think he's talking to? Like you're not you're not within range to mesmer her. Like, you think she has no like logic and rationale, like where you really can sweet talk her, and like that's gonna be the line that makes her want to come to you. Like, and I know it's more than he's trying to make her give up her location, but seriously, like that's how you're gonna play this. And then 2, I made a note for like how funny it is to me that the priority here, which of course is because Bree's Arthur or whatever, the priority is to terrorize Bree and Sel and not figure out where Nick went to, even though Nick was the target that he came to this location for in the first place. And
Right.
he sits here and like
I
he's
think
like but also he's the hunter and he's hunting her. And so it's like the double pronged thing of like, she's Arthur. He wants to get her back. She's number one priority. She's number one on the order hit list, no matter what. But it's like so like poignant to me that when it came to him making a choice, like whenever he ran upon their car or whatever, like why not? He could have taken that moment. Like he could have gone where he like smelled that, started sniffing out Nick, but he went sniffed out Bree instead.
Yeah, he was like bigger fish.
Yeah.
And I think you
and
can,
I don't think he himself. Also, I think all of his mage guard are like dead, so
Yeah.
I don't think he
Yeah.
himself cares about Nick really.
No, I don't think he does either. And I think like we talked about this before, like I don't think that he actually wants to be the one to kill Nick, because I think he better than the regents understands that like if that comes out or when that comes out, like it's just going to turn more people against the regents. Not that he's like pro regent or anything like that, but like why take on extra like flack, if you don't have to. Like I think that's kind of his thing with Nick, is like, I'm gonna go through the motions, and like that's what I was saying with like having Zhao, like telling Zhao to do the killing blow to Nick, right? Like if it happens, it happens. I'm not gonna be the one to do it. But I'm not gonna stop it either. So there's like this part, I know that we talk about just like how cinematic like this book is and the writing and stuff. This part was I had a hard time, and I really hope that these books are adapted, because I had a hard time understanding what's happening. But he sets fire to the clearing in hopes of, I guess, smoking them out. Like it, like, he knows they're in the trees and they'll have to like come out to like escape the fire, but he's in the middle of the fire as well. But I guess
But it's his mage flame, so I think that he probably
so he's like immune to it, probably.
Yeah, like it's not fire, it's mage, it's ether.
Yeah. And so then Bree and Sel are looking at each other. Sel's got on these cuffs. Bree can't call her flame because he's not actually like, she's not yet in like a life, or it's not like a combative, like life-threatening situation. There's no one to throw her fire at. So she is thinking about her lessons and how to call Root from Jesse, and then finally like figures something unlocks, and then she starts to burn, and she burns Sel's cuffs off. And then
Bree is like, Bree is crazy, not in like a bad way, but just like her power is wild, because she like taps into it and then she don't know how to like control it once it's flowing. She's just like, here's a giant wave of mage flame, and that's it. I'm just pushing more power in. I don't know how to make it more precise.
She's like Kyoshi in that way. And that Kyoshi.
Mm-hmm.
Kyoshi,
yes, exactly.
Kyoshi has big power, and it took her like training with fans to figure out how to like be more targeted and direct with her powers. And maybe Thor also had that problem. That's why he needed the hammer initially, and then it became a crutch for him. But it's interesting to see like when people have those kind of powers, how they have to like, it's that they're so big that they have to figure out how to like actually come down to actually precise. And I wonder if we're gonna see Bree, like what I know we see like her at Volition and like how her training goes there. But I wonder if, you know, because Arthur and his BS, which we're running into, if we'll ever see her be able to like actually control and like thoughtfully be able to consume both powers at the same time and like use them in a thoughtful way because of a training kind of device, like some kind of instrument or something to help her tunnel and like sift out
like
how
like Excalibur, maybe.
Possibly Excalibur, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she goes big. She goes real big. So what we know is like the void cuffs are, you're supposed to not even be able to, like they're like unbreakable. Even Valak was like, nah, you cuffed up, right? Like no one's even trying to, and the only person that could take them off is the person that casts them. She is able to burn them off. Sel gets his power back. There's a huge explosion. They don't believe that Erebus is dead, but he crispy, and then they take off again.
I just want to know about before we get to the explosion.
They didn't do that yet.
Oh, okay.
They didn't. Yeah, I think you're
conflating with
too far. With the next chapter. Yeah.
I feel like the explosion in your discussion is they're twinning up, and that's fun to me. Like the fact that you could twin up different
very Wonder Twins.
Yes.
Oh, because she says she pushes, instead of him pulling her power, she pushes it into
That's
him.
later as well.
Jesus Christ.
Here in the next chapter.
I don't know where my notes started and stopped. I told y'all. I was watching Arsenal. My dog is all, I don't know. WNBA playoffs. I'm just all over the place here. She's very cute right now in her pajamas that she's sleeping. It's adorable, just so you know.
But yeah, no, I think they do explode but that's like the end of the
chapter. Okay.
Chapter. But also like she says we explode together, something like that. But I don't think it's like that's not the big explosion. I think it's more like just their powers kind of like, I feel like it's internal, if that makes sense. Because then we get to chapter 41. Sel's eyes are glowing the color, so they're red, the color of Bree's root. And then they're like inhaling and exhaling together and breathing flames, which is freaking dope. So yeah, so then Erebus is like talking about, you know, you shouldn't trust Sel, and a power like yours can't roam free. Like the Shadowborn will kill you, and the more gains will hold you hostage. And Bree's like, yeah, but you held me prisoner. So what's the? It's not like y'all are somehow better than the others or whatever. But he's kind of like, you know, better us than them. And so then he like cast this construct.
Wait a minute, sorry.
Go ahead.
And not to get political, but ain't that what they be playing? Like, it's better us than them. Okay.
Literally. How though? So like for real. It's better for you.
For you?
It's not better for me.
No.
Yeah, you might prefer it, but I don't.
I would prefer to actually have the option that would work for me. You're proposing to not work for me, but also to not fully work against me, only partially against me. And that's not helpful. And
no. They're really just saying we'll work for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And you benefit by not having to be in battle mode, but like she would be in battle mode every day of her life because you're gonna be experimenting on her. So
And then he's saying, like, he starts talking about, he's like trying to get under her skin basically, because like he's telling her like, oh, you messed up giving Sel your root. Like now he's like, I already knew he was succumbing to the blood, but now he's gonna do is like crave your root or whatever. And he'll descend faster. And he has this like giant kind of construct, kind of like a dome that he's trying to like close in on them. But Bree, because she's stubborn as fuck, hard-headed ass kid, he's like, you should have never given Sel your magic or whatever. And then she literally like gives him more. Like immediately. And it's like, I think it was the right thing to do in that moment, but it's also such a Bree reaction that it made me laugh. So yeah, so she like pushes her magic into Sel, and like it's interesting. I think as I'm like talking, I'm like, okay, I get why she does that instead of trying to, because she still doesn't really know how to create her own constructs. So then it's like, all right, so here's my magic, and then you shape it, because you know he's the instrument in this case. Like Porshèa was talking about, like he's the thing to focus her magic, which is cool. So then they shatter Erebus's construct, which then sends him flying, and then Bree collapses and like kind of basically passes out as the root leaves Sel's eyes as well.
I think let me tell you about how, talking about cartoon moment whenever like Isaac and Erebus were at fisticuffs. In my head, I picture Erebus as like feet overhead, flipping backwards into the trees, a la like Power Rangers, or like just like any like action show where they're very animated about getting the bad guy out of there. That's what I see happen to Erebus. And I know that I just feel bad for Bree because she's able to use, like, I feel glad that she's able to like call on her root and make it happen. But the fact that she's able to do it with the hunter right there on her, and the fact that like him getting knocked into yesterday is actually going to confirm that she's right for the picket.
Right. He probably landed, and now I'm thinking about freaking Orochimaru, and like the way he used to like I think Sasuke like beat him in some way or whatever, and then he's like licking his lips like, yeah, this is the one. Like that's what now he's Orochimaru in my head, so that's fun and gross, but that's definitely the vibes I'm getting.
Also a question, is this the moment that we see depicted on the book cover, or is that something else?
I feel like
it has Excalibur out.
They don't have I think it's just, I don't think it's this particular scene.
A reading of the whole thing, but not.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This would probably be the closest though, but they don't have their weapons.
And the mix of their powers together, to me, like this is what, like with our powers combined, we are like the book cover. Like it's what it feels like to me.
Okay, and so Bree wakes up, and she's on Sel's back, but they're traveling at human speed. Bree is kind of like not understanding why, and we kind of tell that Sel is like, he's moving a lot slower than he would. But first things first, she asks about Erebus. He's injured. I think Sel says like he's been burned like down to like past the muscle or whatever, so he has to heal. He's not going to be coming after them right now. But then Bree is worried about the hunter coming after them, which, you know, you're not going to believe this, Bree. You just knocked him into yesterday, as Porshèa said.
What if I told you? I was going to say another thing about Erebus is that when Erebus decides that he's going to use traditional like Merlin methods to go after Bree and Sel, it feels kind of like a performance. Like he's been performing this whole time to not show that he's a Demon King. But I'm like, in this moment, when no one else is around and you're trying to basically like take out the two of them, and like you can, like he could, if he knew that Sel initially had void cuffs on because he knows that the only way to get him off is because he put them on. Like he could have so easily just been like, I'm not even gonna play anymore. Like, let me get you out of here. And he chooses not to. And I know also partially for plot, but it's also like he could have done it. Like he has no witnesses, and I wonder about that a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think part of it is because he does in some ways like still want Bree's trust is not really the word because like they definitely don't trust, but you know what I mean? There's something about him being like the mage seneschal or whatever that like I think lends him some credibility. I don't know if that's quite the word, but like
I just think she's still not really done cooking. She has to go through what we
there's
see
that. Yeah,
later
there's that.
on.
But I think that like, I mean, there is that she's not done cooking, but I think there's also like a level of like trying to like he's trying to convince her to come with him, right? Like he will use his magic if he needs to, or if he feels like he needs to, but at the end of the day, he's trying to manipulate her, and I think that it's easier for him to do that if he presents somebody that they already know, as opposed to being like, oh, and by the way, I'm the Demon King, or I'm the Hunter, or I'm whoever. Like it just introduces another variable that I think would make it harder for them to harder for him to take them in, I think.
But like at for me, when you say that, it actually feels more like we boil it down to its like base notes. He's a demon, and so it feels like it's like a contractual thing where he's like she has to agree upon it with her own
oh yeah, it could be that too.
Maybe her own consent into coming with me. Like I can't be the one to I can't force her into it. She has to come of her own volition, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective, which provides content through the lens of critical and creative fandom. In B&C's Discord, you can not only find a channel dedicated to all things Wizard Team, but spaces to connect with other fellow nerds about stories across media, genre, and more. Join a group read, find book recommendations, and maybe even get the juice to write your own story. Just go to bnc-community.com to join.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves.
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever. So then Bree is like asking Sel what's wrong with him because he's like not really looking at her. But kind of realizes like she's like put, trying to get him to put her down and like all this stuff. And so eventually he does and kind of turns and she realizes that she says that he's ether drunk. He's like, nah,
chocolate wasted.
He is on the highest of high.
He said, girl, that's like heroin, like immediate. Uh-oh.
Not heroin. Okay,
yeah,
Edward Cullen.
You know
oh
how
my
like
God.
Oh, I don't know that. That's not where I was going. I don't know
it's
those
but you are
references.
kind of, not in like a bad way, but it is kind of like you know that moment where Edward tells Bella that I don't know, and it's crazy because I have not
Let
read
me
these books since I was in high
tell
school.
I'm
But
telling you, that's
when
what I'm
she
saying.
says,
I don't
when he's
know.
like, "You're like my own personal brand of heroin," like that.
Yes.
I did not
That-
know that moment, or I did not remember that moment until right now. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was thinking about it more because I just finished watching Elementary, and Sherlock is a heroin addict,
Mhm,
and like
mhm.
just how it's like an instant addiction type of thing. Like you only like you
Mhm.
know the people say like the like other there's a lot of drugs and stuff where like you build up a tolerance or whatever, and that's when you like descend into addiction. But heroin is one of those where it's like you hit it once and might ruin your life. And that's where I was going with that. But also,
I just love where Bayana is thinking, what your brain is, because like we had so many spider monkey moments, and I like one of my notes was that like this is the like this Sel is spider monkeying on a level that Edward could only aspire. But then in this moment, when Bree is like so addictive to Sel, it really does give Edward and Bella vibes. Like the man smelled her walking into a classroom and could not hold himself together like that.
Function.
This is what Sel on Bree's Aether sounds like. He's like, I just want more. Like it's yes. And I feel like I wonder how much Tracy was like, I'm gonna give the fans what they want, you know? Like I'm gonna get a little wink nod to the moments that we kind of like were like, girl, what? In Twilight.
Right. It works a lot better in this. It makes sense, like system wise. So he tells her like this is better and worse, and then Bree realizes that he's drunk on her, and she's like, "Oh shit,
drunk in love, we be all night love." Is that the chapter title? Drunk on Ether, drunk on Bree,
drunk on Ether, drunken Ether.
We gotta keep talking though because
yes. So Sel says, actually, you know what? I wasn't gonna read it, but now I feel like I should. Okay, so he says, okay, so he's like leaning against a tree, trying to like, you know, get his druthers, I guess. And so he looks at her and says, "You told me you could smell my magic at the gala." "I did. I can." He turns against the trunk to face me. We're so close, I smell whiskey and smoke, his ether signature back again. "I wanted to know what that was like. Wanted you to describe it. Didn't know how to ask." "Oh," I whisper. "Do you want to know?" he asks in a low voice that makes me shiver. He reaches for my hand and his fingers are hot against my palm. "What your magic smells like?" I swallow. Honey wine, amber, green things growing, the tiniest hint of copper, like fresh blood, something else. A deep inhale, and I feel him shudder. Power.
Woo.
Sir.
Woo.
But also okay.
And then there's a moment. So then he's like, okay. So then she kind of talks about like, oh, you said you didn't want to drink ether, that you didn't want to use it recreationally. He goes, "That was a cheap casting by a warlock with parlor trick power. Valak's juice is a temporary dampener at best. There's no comparison. This flavor, your ether, your root." He shakes his head, voice low with wonder, swipes a tongue over his lower lip. "I can still taste you."
Can I just say, before we get to the line of I can still taste you, because I was just like, the fact that this man just admitted to her that her aether is the most potent aether he's ever consumed in his life. If that's not innuendo for some sexual acts, and then he says, "I can still taste it." I'm like, okay, so the innuendo's gone out the door. Like this is just full on.
He's down bad. He's completely.
He's gone.
Like
But he's
horrendous.
Not off of her potency. Off of her.
Yep. Wild. Bree, of course, is like, bro, you can't just say that kind of shit. She's like, dude, what the hell? Like, you can't say that. But then it kind of brings like Sel back. He apologizes to her. He says, I'm so sorry, Bree. I kept telling you not to hide from me, but then I did everything in my power to hide from you. I will never. I should have never. But then his like apology is interrupted by someone who says, "This looks like fun."
Yeah.
And I feel like Tracy loves to just like throw a wrench, like not even like in the conversation, but like the end of the chapter being like, oh, here's this other potential danger. You're like, no, we just got here. We need a second. But yeah. So I think it's interesting though that he like they have this moment. He's like still drunk or high on her. And obviously they did talk before having to come here about like what he did, but she was still not like the conversation didn't really resolve itself. But in this moment that apology feels a lot more like, not that he wasn't sincere before, but it kind of feels like he's fully like processed or like found the words to like truly apologize, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is only apologizing for coming off strong when he's talking about how much he likes the smell of her. I don't.
No, that's not what that was. He kind of brought back. I think he brought back their other conversation.
I feel like this is all sexual innuendo, and I feel like this man is.
No, I think it was, but I think that I think that maybe that kind of gave him the perspective to be like, oh, this is somebody who I don't want to lose in this, you know what I mean? And so
that's how I took it as like he had too much ego. He was too prideful to like really truly apologize.
And I think maybe more he was like, I don't know about, I feel like maybe like too self-loathing. Like I think he was still kind of making it about himself.
And I think also like
Even,
now, like not only is it like, oh, I really don't want to lose her and like the power or whatever, but I think also like his inhibitions are gone. And like and like she's the reason, you know what I mean? Like, oh, she could make me feel like this all the time. Probably does play a role in it, but I think also like just he is like, we thought he was ether drunk after the oathings when he owed all the scions to their squires, but this is he said this is the mother shit.
He's Bree wasted.
Yeah. Ooh. I want to get chocolate wasted.
Let's get into who the voice is, shall we? So that's Valak.
It's my twin.
And I love him because he pops up and he says, hoping to interrupt. Because like he's like, no. This is fun for me actually to mess up whatever that was going on here. And it turns out that not only was that power duo aethering that Bree and Sel just kind of like pulled together very like strong against Erebus, it also, sort of kind of set off such a big radioactive like signature that it physically knocked out two of Valak's bar staff miles away. Because this like,
and they're still unconscious.
They're still unconscious, and the fact that like, if you recollect when they took the drive out to go see Nick, that was at least an hour or so away. So miles away, and that's miles away from Hazel's house, Miss Hazel's house.
Yeah.
So at least 2 or so hours away from where Valak's bar is. That's how far their range of magic really like knocked her out. At least. And Valak is, and it's for me, like, I love to put songs throughout everything. For me, it felt like Sorry Miss Jackson, like Miss Jackson, where like he Under 3000 talks about how like the adults have to be the ones who kind of like point out what's going on in their relationship. That feels like what's happening with Valak, because he's forced to point out what is obvious to everyone else, but Sel and Bree, is that like it's not just they got to be on the lookout for order members in this moment. No, baby. All the Shadowborn, all the southeastern demons are lured to the milkshake that is Bree on the yacht.
The milkshake.
The milkshake.
Bree's milkshake has brought all the southern demon boys to the yacht.
Oh my gosh.
And because it turned on Sel, and now it's oh no, all the boys. And okay, I couldn't stop making references because Bree's got that whoa there. She's got that whoa. Giddy up, giddy up.
Oh my gosh. Now she's a tyrant.
She's a tyrant.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Because Valak says she's got the good stuff. Because it feels like rage, pain, and chaos, which could allow up to hundreds of demons to go corporal if they were able to get some.
Jinkies.
But
Jinkies.
lucky for Sel and Bree, Valak is pulled up in a speedster and he's ready to get them out of Dodge. And he's like, y'all can forget about even trying to go back to Miss Hazel's. You gotta go straight to Volition. Like, that's the only way anybody's gonna make it out of here safe is if we get you straight there.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Let's not even play anymore. So Valak takes off, because again, he's on Candy and Demon Time, and he's like, catch up with me if you can, basically, to Sel. Sel is still trying to recover from being ether drunk, but he's keeping up with them a little bit. And before we can even get into the range of like Valak and Valak's car, Sel stops because he sniffs out his demon brethren, and he warns Bree against putting and he smells out his demon brethren. Then Valak pops back over to them. He's like, nah, yeah, you right. We gotta have to make a stand. And Bree's like, well, I can help. And Valak is like, nah, girl, we're not putting more blood in the water by you trying to like sort of boost everyone in the ongoing fight. So
right.
I'm
This
not saying that's
I
annoying.
just want to say,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say too, like Sel and Valak, like before you like fully get into their like them together with Sel at his like actual full strength or whatever, it's just so dope to read. And like they're just so, it's like, they're arrogant as hell or whatever, but it's like cool to read.
Yes.
Like we need a Legend-born anime. That's what we need.
Yes. And the like same
I just
anime
need to see
style
this all.
that like Meg Thee
Yeah.
Stallion has for her video with RM. Like that, like action kind of stuff. Like that's I like it. Oh yeah. So let's clear. Why are we talking about Valak and Sel? They can't stop sniping at each other. And like Sel, and it's mostly Sel. Like y'all are about to be in a fight, and Sel is like, this whole time he's just like Aggie at Valak. Mind you, the man did kind of pop up in the middle of him apologizing to Bree, but at that, like y'all, do we have time for this? We don't really.
No, but I think also Valak is
an instigator, sure. Antagonistic.
Yeah, he's
fine.
an instigator.
He aggravates. Cool.
He's an instigator, and Sel is easy pickings.
Easily ruffled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because like Valak has known Sel for what, 2 days?
In effect.
And it's already like poke.
Literally.
Just to do it. Just
because.
It feels like a younger sibling behavior.
Because he hates, because he's like, I hate the Order, I hate Merlins, you're a child, and this is fun.
Yeah. He's like, if I'm going to get involved with the Order, I'm at least going to make it fun for me. Because I don't even want to be here.
Yep.
Okay. So soon enough, they're surrounded by demon hounds, demon foxes, in Uchels that are made of stone, including like a stone one that has like moss and crap on it, which is like, why? And Valak and Sel immediately get into battle like stance and like are blocking Bree from like the like ice line of these creatures. And Sel tells Bree to run, but she's sitting there trying to get Arthur. She's trying.
She said, I can't use my root, but it's not my only power.
But isn't
What's
it though?
so
She said, I
funny
need something to
though?
protect
But
me.
ain't it though? Because if Arthur ain't effing with you, then what other power you got, girl?
Well, she doesn't know that Arthur isn't effing with her, though. I feel like she should realize it ish by now after the Excalibur debacle with Nick. I don't know, but they got wrapped up in making out afterwards, so maybe she didn't
I feel
catch
like
on.
that was a very
But
like, if you don't know me by now. That's what Arthur's been singing to her.
but I will say, I do think that like Valak just said, like, we got to get you gone.
Mhm.
Like, I know that she's stubborn. I know that this is part of it, whatever. But she always feels like she is thinking about, like, the root crafters in her area. Thinking about, like, obviously, like, in the moment, she doesn't know how much power she's going to release. Like, we already talked about this. She doesn't know what that, like, earthquake that she's gonna kind of cause. She doesn't know how big that's gonna be in the moment. But once she's told, like, oh, you just fucked a lot of people up, or like knocked half of Georgia out of alignment or whatever, she's immediately like, uh-oh, I hope everyone's okay. What did I do? Whatever. So Val just told her this, and she is like, nah, man, I'm not gonna run or hide or let them do what needs to be done and not make the situation worse.
I mean, I read it as her running, but still but trying to because doesn't she tell Arthur like protect me or something like that?
She said, if I go, you go, come out. But like she's sitting there. She's not moving.
Yeah, I didn't take it as her running,
but I didn't take it. Well, then I guess I didn't take it as her necessarily trying to fight, but maybe just like not trying to run, which
is her trying to
what y'all are saying. But I was just saying, like, I didn't read it as her trying to fight necessarily.
She's not trying to go. Actually. She's like she's trying to be in it.
That's how I read it. Not that she's like she's like sunk in the background, because she doesn't have anything. But as soon as something pops up, her,
she's ready to go.
She's trying to,
she's cool. Yeah, word.
That's how I read it.
And she tries to get Arthur to come show up because in her mind, she's like, I have to make him show up without a blood offering. And it's like, so the only time you feel safe that this man's gonna actually show up here for you is whenever you let out some blood. That's when you can guarantee, and you're still trying to call him up? Okay. And she gets attacked for her efforts of trying to spend time on Arthur showing up for her. Come on.
She gets attacked and exposes herself as
Legendborn. Because that's immediately what the demons say. They say Legendborn.
Yeah.
And then what does Arthur do? Oh, I'm gonna show up with the bare minimum. I'm just gonna put a little breastplate. Whenever something's gonna try to hit you, a boom, they're boom. Okay, they have a little resistance. And what is his little bit of help worth, actually? Because she's knocked into a tree, a la Delia Davis. Just not as broken backly. And Cassie then worked out how she's been injured because they can't see around the Aether armor that didn't actually show up in time to keep her from being injured, but is there.
It's just enclosing it.
Yeah.
I feel like, what is this? She got mauled by a demon. Is this like her third, like, major injury? from not doing what she's supposed to do? Fourth? Third? Fourth?
If there's a lesson to be learned about her getting in battle, Bree does not know it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, insanity or whatever the definition of insanity is, doing the same shit over and over again. Like, if you don't,
I feel like that's logical. I feel like Bree would even say that was logical. Does it actually matter when she's in the moment and she wants to not feel like she's everyone's doing stuff around her and she's not? No.
That FOMO's crazy.
It's real bad. I'm the king. Okay, king. Call it for king powers without someone, i.e. your hater number one. Anyways, okay. So, in this moment, when the demons call out her being Legendborn, and Sel comes to her rescue by chopping off the demon's body parts. We're getting a lot of chops around here, and in the past couple of chapters. Is when Valak learns, because Sel is so like concerned about Bree's freaking like health. He says like Valak is initially like, oh crap, she's part of the order, like that way, and then Sel's like, oh no, she's the king. So
all right, he's like, oh, is she your king squire? He's like, no,
she is King Bree. She's not.
Yeah,
she's not just little B. She's King Bree.
I know. Valak was like, what the fuck?
Valak is mortified. He
said,
mortified.
Excuse the fuck out of me. And my ancestors
like
and her ancestors. And
literally. He went, no, I know you fucking lying. That was Valak.
I rebuke it.
I could just see, like, because like Valak's eyes go wide, and I'm like, that's a minimum. I'm sure his heart is probably like, he's probably Mr. Crab.
Nah.
He's probably just like, what?
His eyes popping out of his head like a cartoon.
What?
He's like, I knew y'all wasn't telling me everything, but what the fuck?
So, again, hyperventilating because Bree can't actually interact with any of her powers well, but especially those tied to the Arthur. So even though she was able to get this armor construct on, she can't get it down because her number one hater, i.e. Arthur, her own ancestor, has not given her the ability to practice getting into and out of like this armor, like weaponry or anything related to him. So even when she's in like dire, lethal kind of moment, there's no like, oh, easy off, easy on. Sel has to talk her through visualizing letting it go.
Yeah.
And once it's off, neither Cambion can hide their dismay at Bree's clawed open chest. Valak is ready to call an ambulance. Sel's like, she can't have an ambulance come out here. So Valak's like, yo, what am I supposed to do? And Sel's like, you gotta go for William. Valak's like, it's too late. William is too far away for that to actually make sense, but I'm gonna go get him. He goes to get Will.
I love that, like, Valak is like, it's faster if I run there. But like,
then drive.
Then drive.
Yeah.
So that means William is about to get Spider Monkeyed.
Not only Spider Monkeyed, but also they're gonna have to like, he has to watch his head, like whenever they do like flying or whatever, like,
oh right,
they gotta like make sure that they're not like killing.
And we don't know what time it is, but like, I wonder if William gets significantly heavier at noon and midnight. Just the logistics of this is fascinating to me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So. And I wonder if William's ever been piggybacked before by like, that would be, because if this is like a whole brand new sensation for him, like, anyways. So Valak is determined to get William to Bree's side before it's too late, because the girl is lying there, her chest is open, the muscle is showing, the blood is pooling on the ground, and Bree's brain is coming to grips with the pain that before, when Valak was like moving around and interacting, it was distracting her from. But now that he's gone, it's all happening. And for me, this moment between her and Sel, where he's just trying to get her to hold on, it reads very Li Shang telling Mulan, like, hold on, Mulan. And like she's focusing on his lips and it's like getting blurry. But she's she just keeps watching his lips. That's what it feels like is happening, as she's kind of like focusing on Sel. And she's fading. And her body, she feels like more and more removed from her body, but she processes it as Sel getting further away from her than actually her getting further away from her body. And just as she's caught in a drift where she doesn't really like feel much of anything, she smells Sel's aether as he does his darndest to keep her alive. And I just have to read this part because I have to. Sel says, I've got you. Stay with me. And the floating dullness claims me again. But Sel's magic is there on the edges, keeping the darkness at bay. Stay with me, Bree.
Honestly, this like range of chapters, I guess, from last week to like once they start going to save Nick, like there's a lot popping off in.
Whew.
It was like all gas, no brakes.
But also, again, that's this entire book series because we are still only like a month in this bitch.
Real.
We're only getting to the leaves falling off the trees, so that's how far they are into the school semester. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If this whole thing takes place within like a year, I'm gonna be like, fucking happily ever after, and then they slept, and then they napped.
I mean, it's not your happily ever after for every book.
It really is. I mean, we just talked about yesterday how Bree sleeping in was like the pinnacle for me. Mm-hmm. Said, oh, we made it. We slept in. Rest. All right.
So who was your MVP?
I went I couldn't I have to be better about this. I went Sel and Valak. Valak, like I said last time, if he's on the page.
Yeah, I had a similar thing where I like made Sel my MVP, and then I was like, but it feels wrong to not make Valak my MVP.
I had Valak as MVP from the very beginning. I was like, nope,
I love that.
He gets it.
I will say, yeah, I will say like Valak comes in as like knight in shining armor, I guess is like the best way to say it, with all of the swag and humor and just who he is that like we've expected. But Sel, we talked about in the last episode like how Sel was so deep in the hole and he had started to climb and like get back to like the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he like really pulled himself all the way back up and like landed in the trees where he belongs in these 3 chapters.
In the trees.
In the trees. Just with like taking care of Bree, being very like mindful of Nick. Not to say he's not hurt by Nick, but like he's just like Bree is like, will he come back? He left us. Like I will never really get over Bree's reactions to Nick.
He left us.
Being so
betrayed. But she
just had a make-out session with him.
She'd be a little bit of a...
Yeah. Sel has not seen Nick for some time.
Sel did not.
Bree just was wrapped up in this boy's arms, rolling around in a memory, making out with him. He yelled where he was, and all of a sudden, he's like, actually, no. And that's hilarious to me. Again, I'm probably not the person to...
I mean, he also like rolled down the windows because he's like, I ain't trying to smell that nonsense. But the point I'm trying to make about Sel, though, is that like he went through maybe not the exact same that Bree did, but they just went through the same, and he like very quickly was like, and he's like still suffering it from his degradation. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. He's whatever, and he was still very much like, yeah, he left, but we are not out of the woods. Like, yeah, he left us, but like we still gotta, and then took care of business. And I think that had Bree not had Nick there, she would have been caught by Erebus because she'd have been standing stuck where she was when she saw Nick shake his head and run away. She'd froze right there. So
you're calling Kurt to Shaolin.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like Sel. I think he also just in general like
love me. That's what she was at.
Yeah, but I think it also makes sense, like, Sel's training and stuff. Like, I think that he's like, okay, at the point that even though obviously his whole job is to like, be with Nick, I think that he's able to adapt quickly, but I think it also has to do with like his training.
But
yeah, no, I think that
okay, another thought. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
But yeah, no, like I definitely think he was my MVP just because like he is the one who got like Bree, like you said, Robyn, like Bree would not have been able to get away from that situation without him. And like, yeah, she's able to break his void cuss, which was really dope. But again, it's like he's channeling her magic. When she uses too much of it, he's getting her away. Like you know what I mean? And then what he's about to do, or like what he's, I guess, doing, but we'll find out what it is that he's done in the next chapter. But yeah, he's kind of like putting it all on the line for her in this moment. So, but also valid because like you can't just not.
He can't just not be the best.
No,
he's physically incapable of just existing and not being the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not have. Sure, Sel's looking good, fine. I personally, you got to do more for me. He's saving her life. That's great, but and he apologized. Cool, I'm with it. But MVP, no. MVP goes to Valak because he not only did he show up with humor and like the White Knight, he is, and I think that's the thing that galls Sel to his core, is that Valak is who Sel wishes he were.
Oh, yes.
And
absolutely.
Sure.
Every time they interact, it just becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And Valak coming up and being like, happy to interrupt this BS between the two of y'all looking buddy. It's just so like make me laugh. And Valak did, but you made me laugh at being a hater. That's Kendrick level stuff right there. Like that has to be MVP. And then I also gave and the fact that he, as soon as like he's very solutions oriented, and as soon as he saw Bree's like state, he was like, okay, immediately ambulance because I don't got it. If we got to get a helicopter out of here, I don't know. And
right,
and then even whenever
like
that
he's
was
also like
out,
for being a trickster, like when things are actually serious, he can be serious.
And he's never, it's not like he can be unserious while being deadly serious. It's not even like it's like one or the other. Like he knows how to do that. And so I appreciate that about him. But I also appreciate that like he built out the scope of like what they were facing before they even had to face the attack. And like it's the whole southeast, the whole southeast is alert for Bree, not just Georgia. So I appreciate that he's able to read the room, and as soon as Hazel, because that's how he figured out that he needs to be there, is that Hazel gave him word that something was up, and he sniffed them out and found them. Like I think he was prepared to be there if like Eric was still on the hunt, he was going to be out there, you know what I mean? Like he was willing to do that. So I appreciate that of him. And I also
I want to briefly, I think we missed it, the part where they say that they fought Erebus and he's like, I hope he's dead.
He said, that raggedy old coon.
Right. He said,
I hope,
He does
I hope
not.
he's dead and
I
in
hope
a
he
really
suffered.
grisly manner.
Yeah.
and that sounds like something I would say actually. So I just appreciate like oh, did you
Get
get
him
someone out
again
here?
for
Did
me.
he die?
Exactly.
So I love it. I also love that Hazel. I kind of like Hazel. I gave here, but I'm also like it's kind of like a honorable mention, but also kind of MVP-ish because Hazel did not know why Bree and Sel peeled out of there. She just knows that they like made Alice and Will stay back, and like she didn't have all the full details. It's just that like that she heard something about Nick probably, and knew that was enough to send Valak after them. Prior to Bree ever setting things off with her alert, like it was and so that was for me. I really appreciate that, even though Alice is sitting there in her serenity, in her peacefulness, she, as soon as there's any feeling like the big guns are getting loaded, let me make sure that Bree has backup. That's not just Sel. And I really like that for Hazel, and that she's looking out for Bree, who is someone she just met. And even though Bree's under her care, she didn't have to take it that far in caring for her, and I appreciate that from Miss Hazel.
I also love that you're like Sel, and in my brain and in the world, Miss Hazel's like, oh, she went off with that Merlin boy. Someone called Valak. Oh, you'll just let her go off with that Merlin boy. I know we're supposed to trust him.
She probably heard the car peeling off and was like, excuse me? Mm-mm.
Right.
Looking at Alice
take y'all to safety.
Right. Looking at Alice like, so you just gonna let her go off with that Merlin boy? No.
I thought you was her friend. I thought you okay.
Okay. If that's what we're doing.
Okay, benched.
Erebus. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, same. I had thought
he
about
makes
Arthur.
the villain being fun, though. Like,
yeah,
he killed Isaac. Is that a bench-worthy offense? No.
Was Isaac killed?
I thought I read it as he was killed.
I didn't read Isaac being killed.
He's like,
I read it as it wasn't clear.
Okay.
I think
I don't think we saw the last scene with Isaac. I think they were in a tussle whenever Nick peeled off, and then so did Sel and Bree. Like, I don't think that we heard like a crack of a neck or anything.
It said Isaac lies still on the ground, too far away for us to know if he's alive or dead.
Right.
And I just assume that Erebus.
I don't think he would care. I don't think he has any actual feelings about whether or not he killed him or not. But I don't know that that's. I think he could be in enough of a rush to get after Bree and Sel to not actually have like made sure that Arthur was out.
Made sure, yeah. Well, I guess my thing is that like it doesn't make me feel good to bench the dude that knocked Isaac out, but also like, what are you gonna do?
I mean, he was out here. He's just manipulating, and better we have you in prison than these other people get their hands on you. Like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I benched Arthur because as annoying as Erebus is, and like, yes, he's a big bad, and we're gonna get into how big bad he is. Like, it's even more insidious to sit there in someone's body knowing that your primary mission in life is to be able to pop out and show niggas, and you, when called upon, have decided, no, I'd actually rather she be put in mortal peril if she doesn't decide to share her body with me as a medium, a power, ability that I didn't even know was possible until I ended up having a black girl in my family. And now, unless she gives it to me, I'm not doing crap. I'm not showing up for nothing. That is even more insidious. You're supposed to be a protector. You're supposed to be someone like a vessel, and it's supposed to be good for you because you want to pop out. You want to do this. You want to stretch your legs. But no. So F Arthur. F him forever. I wish him the worst. If he were not connected to Bree, I would hope that he would tumble down the steepest of cliffs into a volcano, never to be seen
Ooh.
again. That's how I feel about Arthur.
Well,
That's very real.
she said what she said. I'm not gonna argue in his favor. Like, correct. You know.
And
Can we talk about your honorable mention right now, real quick, Porshèa?
I wanna
Lord.
honorably mention Nicholas, not because he killed Zao, more because, sir.
Can we still consider Nicholas as a damsel if he is now running away?
He's still.
I don't think
That's
he's
what
a
a Runaway
damsel
Bride
anymore.
is. A Runaway Bride is also a damsel, and is he not?
Well,
Runaway
all right.
Bride.
Well then,
Oh
he's
my
still
gosh.
a damsel. Just a new flavor of it.
Can I just add that he's an honorable mention because he knows that he and Sel have been apart for long enough for Sel to be succumbing to his demon blood. And while he may have faith in understanding that Sel would remove himself if it got too bad, he's also an vantage point to actually see Sel's face. And Sel does not have a mesmer on.
Bree told him he's not doing great. Like, just
and he got to see him in person. They can still sense each other. So whenever he decided to turn away, Sel sensed that crap because that's how strong their connection is. You feel how far gone Sel is, and you don't. If this is a triangle, and you love Sel, you don't love him any more than you love yourself. You love yourself way more because you would rather let him succumb to whatever he's going through, being separated from you, then you actually do what's necessary and just be around him so he does not succumb to his demon blood. So F Nick for that. If this is him being in love with Sel, I don't want to see it. This is disgusting. And I hate that for everyone in the triangle.
I mean, listen, they Sel said it's toxic over there.
Yeah, they are not having it's toxic over there. It's funny.
It's just
Nick is sounding like he's like head narcissist in chief, and he was taught by a real one, his father, and I'm not with it.
Well, thank you for listening. I don't know what else you want me to say. Thank you for listening. Join us next week when we discuss chapters 43 through 45 of Bloodmarked.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com and follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create. Until next time.
Bye.